Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I'm called Samuel Okiro Egadu. I report for Tsinghua News Agency. I just wanted to ask you a question. You've signed this bill. How is it going to affect your relation with the Western countries, since most of them had already threatened to withdraw aid to Uganda as a result of this bill? Thank you.
What is your religion? Oh, you are some sort of Christian. Now, you remember the story of Esau. Esau, the brother of Jacob, who sold his birthright for a morsel of food. Now, Uganda is not like that. My argument on this issue was not, I was not bearing in mind the outsiders, although I don't mind having friction with them. But once we are convinced that this is the... For me, I was not refusing to sign because of the outsiders. It was because I feared, I didn't want to be unfair to people who are born like that. That was my... Because even before colonialism, there were a few homosexuals here. There are some names which I mentioned of people here before Europeans came here. So that's why I thought maybe there could be those who are born like that. But now that we are sure that that's not the case, then the outsiders cannot dictate to us. This is our country, this is our society, it is our future, it is not anybody's future. And the outsiders will have to live with us, or if they don't want, they take their aid and we shall. Uganda is very rich, we don't need aid. In fact, aid is part of the problem. And I have looked at the figures. Like for instance, our people who are taking ARVs, and the test for, because some of the groups are helping us in AIDS. We are not spending so much money on the AIDS. We are concentrating on the roads, and these friends were supporting the AIDS programs. Now, of course, some of that money for aid is for cham. They just bring it to eat it here. It's not really effective. Some of that aid is just charm. They give to NGOs. Charm means eating. This is our language. Some of you who don't know our language. They give it to NGOs, so all these fellows. But the core programs of, for instance, ARVs for our sick people, and the testing kit, the figure is about 350 billion shillings, and we can't fail to get that type of money to save our children. We shall have to cut from other areas and treat our sick people.
Yeah, can we have the second one? Let us be brief and... Yes, Madam.
But I would advise our friends from the West not to make this an issue, because the more they make it an issue, the more they will lose, because we shall move away and do our own things.
Yeah, Madam, let's have your question.
President Zane Verjee, CNN, the West. They do make it an issue. They have been making it an issue for many months now. Many in the international community are saying that by your signing of this bill, you're taking Uganda a step backwards, that you are not protecting the freedoms and the rights and the choices of the Ugandan people. So how do you respond to that? And specifically, President Obama has said he was deeply disappointed by Uganda's move and says that it would complicate US-Uganda relations. I've listened to everything that you've said in the statement, so how would you respond to that? And does it worry you, and have you spoken directly to President Obama about this?
Well, we have been disappointed for a long time. by the conduct of the West, the way you conduct yourselves there. But we just keep quiet. We just see how you do things, how the families, how they are organized, in all these things. We see them, we keep quiet. We never comment because it's not our country. Maybe you like it. So, since there's now an attempt at social imperialism to impose social values of one group on our society, then our disappointment is now exacerbated because we are sorry to see that you live the way you live. But we keep quiet about it. Now you say, we must also live like us. That's why we say no. We say no. And am I worried? Not at all. We should be worried about what? Because to tango needs two people to dance. If the West doesn't want to work with us because of homosexuals, then we have enough space here to live by ourselves and do business with other people.
Thank you.
Yes, Dick, and then we go to Catherine Biarhanga.
There is Bairunga. I want to hear Bairunga.
Catherine, you can come forward.
Your Excellency, you talk about...
When will your BBC pronounce your name well, please?
I don't know. Your Excellency, you talked about the scientific report that was presented to you by these scientists in front of us. They didn't say that homosexuality was abnormal. They said there were a range of reasons why somebody could be homosexual. There are genetic reasons as well. So you can't dismiss that somebody could be born homosexual. So isn't this just a political bill? It's nothing to do with science.
No. The report says, first of all, you know that many of our homosexuals are actually mercenaries. They are heterosexual people who just become homosexual just because of money. They are prostitutes.
But how do we prove that? Is there
No. Let's first, that is the biggest category here. These are prostitutes for money. They are normal people. They are just recruited because of economic hardships. They go into that. Now, the other smaller category, which I was defending, their conclusion is there is no single example of a purely nature-driven homosexual. Yes, there could be some association. Some of those studies showed that there could be some association with the genetics, but the people who grew up in certain environments are the ones who eventually became homosexuals. While the same identical twins, the children from the same egg, from the same ovary, same ovum, what they call monozygotic twins, what we call identical twins in our normal life. You find one is, the other one is not. And when that study they made, they found it was the environment which triggered this fellow to go that way. So therefore, they are definite that nature without nurture, you cannot get a homosexual. That's what they are saying. Yeah. That nature without nurture, you cannot get a homosexual. So why don't we remove this nurture? The society removes this nurture. Yeah. Instead of the way the Western societies are presenting it, that there are two options. This is like a menu. You go to a hotel, you can choose either this or that. You know, our people are, and by the way, those people, the Western people you are talking about, because I pinned them down, I said, you put your signature on this. They couldn't. I don't want to quote names because this was in confidence. One of them, just the other night, before, just the other night, I was on the phone with one of my people in the West, my friends in the West. The person said, there is no reputable scientist who can put his signature to the opinion that nature is the one which causes homosexuality. That's what somebody told me on the phone. But it's a matter of choice. Now they are shifting. I think this is very, very important. Uganda, as usual, may really trigger a very serious movement in the world. Because now, we now know that the natural part is a minority. The majority is the nurture, the upbringing. You know, I'm not somebody who just follows things. Even these MPs, I was going to, if these people had said it was nature, I would never have agreed with these, the bishops and all that. That's not my issue. Because you remember Jesus was killed by bishops. So I don't listen to those groups, bishop, I don't know what. Because God gave me my head, I am mobile with it all the time. I don't follow any of those people. You remember who killed Jesus? The archbishop, called Caiaphas. Caiaphas is the one who killed Jesus. So I don't listen to those groups. Yes, if they go with our core issue, we go with them, but I can't be guided by those groups. So it's now our logic. And we have taken time, we have studied it, this is our conclusion.
Thank you.
Yes, can we have Dick and then the other lady?
My name is Leila, I correspond for Deutsche Welle Kiswahili service. First question. The gay community in Uganda is requesting to have a meeting with you. Would you give them an ear? The homosexuals in Uganda, they are requesting to have audience with you. Yeah. So they say, no, hold on. No, they say their side of the story has not been heard and they would kindly beg to meet you so that you get to hear that side of the story. That's number one. And then number two, for the sake of my audience in Kiswahili, ningekuomba tafadhali utueleze kwa Kiswahili ni kwa nini umetia saini mkataba wa leo na nchi za magharibi zimekuwa zikikuwa
homosexual wanawahitaji kwa Kiswahili,
mashoga. Mashoga.
Ndivyo wanawaita?
Mashoga.
Mashoga. Na moja?
Shoga.
Moja ni shoga?
Singular shoga, plural mashoga.
Mashoga.
Yeah. Utueleze nchi za magharibi zimekuwa zikisema kuwa ukitia saini mkataba wa mashoga basi huenda uhusiano wenu ukakuwa mgumu. Unalipi la kusema kuhusu hilo? Pia tamko la Obama amesema kuwa Uganda itakuwa ikikiuka haki za binadamu. Unalipi ya kusema? Asante.
Sasa kuna wacha hiyo niache. Ndikuwa nataka kuambia msemo mmoja wa Wanyankole, lakini labda wacha niwache. The relationship with any country must be based on equal relations and mutual respect. We cannot have a relationship based on subservience, that our society is subservient to the other society. That whatever they tell us, we must do, whether we agree or not. So that's their own choice, it's not ours. For us, we want to work with the West, we have been working with the West, but they cannot, they cannot force us to do something like this, which is so fundamentally wrong. That's my answer to you. Kwa hiyo, kwa Kiswahili, sisi tunaweka sheria kwa nchi yetu, kwa jamii yetu, si kwa mtu mwingine. Na hii sheria haivunje kanuni za kibinadamu. Hatutumie nguvu kwa mtu. Torture, what do you call torture in Swahili? Torture.
Kunyanyasa. Kutesa ama kunyanyasa.
Kunyanyasa, that is oppressing.
Kutesa.
Atumie mateso, lakini we are saying, sisi tunasema kwa nchi yetu, au unaita mashoga, kwa uchunguzi wa sayansi, ni watu ambao wanaishi kwenye tabia mbaya ambayo sisi hatutaki kukubali kwenye jamii yetu. Kukutana na hao mashoga, well, I don't know where they are. Actually, one of the people in the West had asked me to meet them. We shall discuss it among ourselves and see the best, because somebody must meet them to rehabilitate them and to study them. Yes, and also to study them. Scientists should meet them, study them, take their blood, look at their genetics. So definitely we need to meet them, for sure. Okay, 3 more questions and then we finish.
Yes, let's have Dick, and then he had put up his hand, and then another lady there.
All Your Excellency, I'm Dick Sokelo for Voice of Lango FM, Lira. Your Excellency, the day they passed this bill at the Parliament of Uganda, the leader of government, business, and also the Prime Minister, Mama Mbabazi, rejected it in front of the Speaker of Parliament. Even after that, he kept on rejecting the bill. Now that you have signed it, what do you think is going to be the relation between, let me say, the officials of the government, since he rejected it? Then the second one, if you may allow. When I was in Lango about mid-June, they are discussing about this homosexual. When I entered the studio, the first thing they told me, yes, you're in Kampala, you know everything, you move out, you know everything, but about this one of gay, don't talk about it, we are the ones to direct you. I want to know why is much of the society like having that kind of mindset that they don't want even people to touch about it. And in the morning when we broke the news that we are signing it, I'm told everybody was calling, making, people were like jubilating, others even wanted to come to radio. What is that logic behind Ugandans hating it so much?
Well, maybe I start with number 2. You know, I've told you in Runyankore, Ekitingwa, that's what we call homosexual. The few names that were being mentioned, suspected, because there was no proof, they would be referred to as ebifuire. Ebifuire means, although you are living, but you are dead. You are dead, although you appear to be alive. Nechifuire. So, this is the attitude of the Africans. And that's why we have preserved our society. Through all these troubles, through slave trade, through what, you find our population was able to survive and thrive. For instance, many of our clans are exogamous. Exogamous means you don't marry within your clan. You marry outside. In other parts of the world, I hear that they are endogamous. Endogamous means they marry within their clans. Now here, if you do that, you will be cast out. And for good reason. This is how they preserved, in a rough way, how they preserved the genes of the people by always bringing new blood from the other clans. So if somebody comes to attack this, why should they welcome him? Why should they welcome him? That's the main reason. They think this is a fundamental attack on their system, on their way of life. And after they have now woken up, these pharaohs have now woken up these Ugandans. They have woken them up, which in a way is good. Now, Mbabazi opposed the bill on my orders, because you remember there is somebody called the president and some other people, vice president, prime minister, and so on. Because I was not convinced, because I had told these MPs and Right Honorable Kadaga that please hold on, let's study this, because I had not had time to study it. Busy with the roads, with the electricity, with the defense. I had not had time to study it. They had brought it earlier, just like the other one of women. You remember the one where the women wanted to take the properties of men and all that? You remember that one?
The marriage and divorce bill.
That one. So I normally advise these people, please, these things which you have not studied, leave them alone. Let's first do the things which are obvious, where there's no controversy. But these pharaohs just brought it. Against my advice, because my view was that you leave that. Let's first deal with the things which are obvious. Just as I had advised them on the women trying to take property, fighting for property. You come to marry property. What did you come to do? Did you come to look for property? You know, Matembe and her group had brought it many years ago. And because me, I'm a busy man, we have got so much work to do. I say, please, that they didn't want bride price. My father, who died last year, would have gone on a riot because the man believed in bride price. He was charging bride price for his girls, my sisters and half-sisters. For my own daughters, I was not asking for bride price. So these are the cultural things you should be careful about. So that's why I was saying, please, these ones, you leave it. But these people, some of the people brought it. Now you see, we are now in a war. Now, having brought it, I had now to study it, to come in and study it. That's why I told Mbabas, I said opposite. And I was going to send it back if I had not been convinced otherwise by the facts. I had actually drafted the letter of referring it, but I didn't sign it. So Mbabas was not doing things on his own. He was doing on my orders. So now that I have agreed, Mbabas will also agree. That's what the Basoga say. What the big man is saying, that is also what I'm saying.
There was a hand there. Let's have you and then Suhai Mugabe.
His Excellency, I have two questions for you. One is in regard to, seek your knowledge as to whether you've received a legal analysis from lawyers led by one of the MPs, Honorable Fox Odoi, who is your former legal advisor, private legal advisor. And in that legal analysis, he claims that it's going to be very hard to enforce that particular legislation in light of the Bill of Rights that does not only define human rights in the Western conception that sets an individual above society, but it also recognizes the existence of rights that are not recognized under the Bill of Rights. The second issue is with regard to the definition. Actually, it's one in one. It relates to the first one. You've talked about Africans, of how they have to define how they are to behave. But in 1995, we adopted a constitution that is supposed to define how we are supposed to behave as human beings. But therein, the principles as enunciated in that particular constitution try to set an individual above society. How are we going to, whereas we can define the problem that as Africa, this is a problem, but the constitution is there as an impediment to how we are supposed to enforce. How are we going to go above that, about that? Thank you, sir.
Well, the Constitution is written by us. It's not written by God. So if we find that there was something wrong, we shall change it, because our existence is more important than any document. And the Europeans need to be very careful, because Africans are normally mild people. They are not extremists. They are not like Arabs and these other groups which are always running up and down. But they are also very strong people. That's how we have survived all these problems. Slave trade came, we survived it. Colonialism came, we survived it, because of our strong culture. Now, when somebody attacks that, then he's sure that he will for the first time, see who Africans are.
Yes, Mugabe?
Good afternoon, Your
So
Excellency.
I would really advise the Western countries to, this is a no-go area. They better leave it. They shouldn't waste their time, because we are not going to allow them.
Your Excellency, I'm Sohail Mugabe from NTV, and my question is quite a short one. You had earlier highlighted that the Anti-Homosexuality Bill was passed without quorum. We would like to know what could have made you change your stand on
Those
this
are different things. Those are legal things. For me, I was dealing with the policy issue. I was dealing with the policy. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not all those. I was not happy. My real unhappiness with Rebecca Kadaga and the MPs was they didn't listen to when I say, I am the driver, please, you the passengers, hold on a bit. Let me see how this section of the road is. Then they insist and then start pushing the vehicle. That's what I didn't like, because I was sure that this is such a big issue. Now you see how big it is. You see how big it is. It has now put us in collision with the Western system. I don't mind being in collision, but I need to be prepared to be in that collision. So those who are in the habit of not listening, of not being advised, when somebody who knows a bit more than you says, hold on, let's study this, and then you don't listen, you're also part of the problem. We had the same problem with the women's bill, the other one of when the women were fighting for property. Now you can see this is now a big war. I don't mind the war, but we should have been prepared right from the beginning. Should have been prepared, because like now I had to check the figures with Rugunda here. The Americans are giving us $450 million each year for AIDS. That's about 1 trillion shillings. And because of that, we have not been concentrating on AIDS so much. whatever money we have been having, we have put it on the roads. That's how you see the roads are improving. Masaka Road has been worked on, Mtiana Road has been worked on. Now, these MPs of mine, they caused a war without my input and without preparation. But of course, since they had already started the war, I had to join. That's what normally happens. Obote in 1972 started a war, a bad war. When I came, I was told, I said, okay, let's go. If we die, we die. But we went to Mbarara, we were defeated, we went back. Obote was in Dar es Salaam drinking his nani.
Your Excellency.
So, just hold on. So, that was my disgruntlement. The rushing, something very, very serious, because this is very, very serious. Without proper analysis and because now we have had to do the analysis after the bill. This analysis of the scientists has now been done after, not before. That's problem number one. The consequences, I have had to analyze them after. And that's why I was able to tell you that although the Americans are giving us $1 trillion for AIDS, much of it is just for these NGOs who are running up and down, doing nothing anyway. So therefore, I have been able to say, no, there's no danger, because the actual thing for the treatment, the ARVs, and the testing, because that's what is crucial, to keep our more than 1 million people who have got AIDS, 1.5 million. Those, if they don't get the drug, they will die. So those fellows who are pushing things without thinking, they should have thought about that.
Okay.
But there are Nyankore proverbs which I don't want to quote here. There are very good Nyankore proverbs which would fit here, but I shouldn't also be like the Western people to bring bad things here in public.
Your Excellency, there's been a...
So therefore, for me, I'm not bothered about the legalistics, the what, whether this forum or quorum or what. The crucial thing was the substance. The substance, is it correct to criminalize homosexuality? Now the answer now is yes, because in any case it had already been criminalized by the British. Because that was also another problem created by my MPs who do things without thinking about them. Actually, the British had already criminalized this. Isn't the sentence the same? Sentence for homosexuality under the Penal Code. Yes, but what is the sentence? The Attorney General is the sentence for homosexuality, is it not a life sentence? Yes. Yes, even under the present law, it's actually provided. And that was one of the arguments who were giving these MPs who are not listening. Because we are saying, but you are creating all this chaos. But the law is already there. The criminalization is already done. But you know, everybody wants to feel great. So everybody is a jogo. Everybody is a big cock. So, but so there's nothing new actually. There's nothing new about criminalizing homosexuality, because the British had already done it. So all this debate has just given us a chance to reassert ourselves. It was not necessary actually. The law was there, but that's how democracy is. They have now involved me, I have now come in, so I am now on the front line. Although they started shooting without, when I was not there. Starting a border war without a good reason. Okay.
Now, Your Excellency, now that you have proclaimed that you're on the front line, what should we expect in the enforcement of the law?
Well, life sentence, I think. That's what it says. Life sentence if you are a Ixiaga.
Thank you very much.
Yes, let's have the last one.
Yes. Your Excellency, my name is Kenneth Muhire from Top Television. Now that you've signed the law, Your Excellency, we have pending cases in court where video shootings have been broadcasted live, people have been victimized, and the victims to those cases are out there moving. Do we see you resurrecting this?
Victimized for what?
Many have already been sodomized, and we have pending cases in courts which have been stepped on, and we have published this, we have done our work, but the sodomizers are on the streets moving. Do we see you either issuing a commission of inquiry to resurrect these cases or not? Thank you.
The lawyers, can you...
That would be retrospective.
Things which happened before.
Yeah. Retrospective.
Can it be retrospective? I don't think.
No, Your Excellency, you can only commit a crime when there is a written law criminalizing the act you engage in.
But that law is there. The old law is there.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is, Your Excellency.
Yes.
They are charged under the old law, and they will be convicted under the old law.
Yes, they will be convicted under the old law, which was also like this one. There's no difference, actually, because the penal code already had criminalized homosexuality. That's what we are trying to tell our MPs, but they were not listening. So this is not retrospective. This is the old law.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Oh, there are two more so that we finish.
Okay. Let's have him.
Honorable Minister, thank you so much. Your Excellency, manya gange nze Mutale Joshua, mpandikira Radio Simba. Honorable, Your Excellency, abantu bagala kuwulira ku ddoboozi lyo mu Luganda ku bino ebigenda mu maaso.
Genda okyuse nakwegiriza oluzungu.
Your Excellency, bagala kuwulira ddoboozi lyo bw'obufunze ebikulu mu kino kye tuliko ssebo.
Ngenda kubyonoona kubanga sinyonyola bulungi mu Luganda nga bwe kyandibadde. Genda okyuse. Wasomera mu USE?
Yeah, let us have the last one.
Your Excellency, my name is Joseph Sabit. I work with WBS Television. The argument you've just advanced is one that many of us in the media held, that largely this law was unnecessary because it was already criminalized under the Penal Code in 1950. But the Bahati Bill, as it is popularly known, brings a new aspect under the promotion and trying to work with people who do not reveal information regarding homosexuality in society. A section of people in the media are scared that actually their fundamental rights to inform the country accurately and fairly is on the line. And when you considered earlier that Parliament debated it under emotions and without listening to guidance from you, was it right to not look at those sections, especially the promotion bit of the law? Thank you, Your Excellency.
But this is like treason, because treason says if you commit treason, you commit an offense. But if you also commit misprision of treason, if you see treason being planned and you keep quiet about it, you're also guilty. So are you trying to say that because you are a newspaper man, if you misprison treason, you should be exempt? What are you saying now? What is the argument? Are you saying that because you are a newspaper man, you have got a right to fail to report a crime, even when you see it, because you are a journalist?
Your Excellency, it's not that, I'm not reasoning in that regard, but the question is, away from the Penal Code 1950, which already criminalized homosexuality and gave the death penalty as the maximum sentence. The section that was introduced that governs the question of promotion of homosexuality, the fact is that this country has seen homosexuality, and it has been happening even with the death penalty, and it is going to happen. What happens tomorrow when it has to be a matter of debate? When the media has to capture what is happening in the country, and what are chances that people will not be victimized in regard to failing to report issues of homosexuality? And was it necessary to force people to report?
I think, we've got some lawyers here, like crimes like murder. If you witness murder, are you compelled to report or what? I know treason, you are compelled to report.
It is only treason, sir. Hmm? It is only treason where you're compelled to report.
So I can see somebody killing a person and simply...
But there is what they call mens rea. What is the intention when someone is doing any act or the actus rea? If, for example, you may have information about a person, but you're not even sure about it. I don't know what is the exact form of the current law, but what I know is that that provision was debated and actually it was removed.
Yeah.
That is the information I have. But I can cross-check. Isn't that so, Honorable Bahati? It was removed, actually, that bit about not just reporting someone is a homo.
It was removed?
Yes.
But anyway, all this can always, this law is not the end of the world. In fact, what I said in my other statement was that if the scientists bring the facts in the future that there are those who are born homosexual, then people can look at the law again. And if there are some other things, you can look at the law again. This is not the end of the world. So, but I think now why I have had to come in, I have come in for two reasons. First, I have had the question answered that somebody to be a homosexual is a combination of some genetic, but mainly external factors, like influence and so on and so forth. So that one has been answered. Secondly, we don't want anybody to interfere in our internal affairs. Finished. These are the two crucial principles